Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Awakening Heart Community of Mindful Living here at Dallas Meditation Center. So glad you could join us on this beautiful weekend. And hope you've had a nice weekend, and good to see those of you who are coming back again. And for those of you who might be here for the first time or finding us later on YouTube and listening to this later, welcome to you as well. It's an easy practice, so you can just follow along. We will be doing a guided meditation, and then we will have a talk. And then following the talk, there will be interactive sharing on Zoom. And we will give that link a little bit later in the broadcast where you can join us on Zoom for the question and answer and sharing later on. But for now, just sit back and enjoy. And I would also invite you to check in the chat window here on YouTube, if you would. It's always nice to know that you're there on the other side, and we'll read those a little bit later. And also, please do click the like button. That really does help for the videos to be found by other viewers. So do that, and I hope you enjoy your evening. And so we will begin with 3 sounds of the bell. And if you know it, you can join John in saying the opening affirmation.
Noble community, we gather here now to honor the way of peace and nonviolence, the way of wisdom and compassion, the way of joy and beauty, in solidarity with one another, with all humanity, and with all life on earth. Friends on the path, we gather here now to deepen our solidity like a mountain and to renew our freshness like a flower through mindful sitting and walking, mindful singing and breathing, and mindful speaking and listening. Family of awakening, we gather here now to celebrate the one infinite light that shines through many religions and many cultures, to cultivate the wisdom of our many teachers, both ancestral and contemporary, and to affirm the capacity within ourselves and all persons of every race, gender, orientation, and tradition to realize full and complete enlightenment.
Hello, everyone. I want to just reiterate Cornell's welcome. I'm so glad that you could join us this evening. I'm really happy that you're here tonight because we have a special guest, and I'll introduce her to you in a little bit. But yeah, I do hope you've had a lovely day and are ready to settle in and kind of let go of any tensions or stressors or anything that you've been carrying around so that you can enjoy our time together and enjoy our meditation, enjoy our sharing, just be present with all of that. So I'm glad you're here, and I look forward to seeing you later when we share on Zoom.
Please join me for the contemplation before sitting. The Sangha is invited to go back to our breathing so that our collective energy of mindfulness brings us together as an organism, going as a river with no more separation. Let the whole Sangha breathe as one body, generate peace as one body, be free as one body. Let us transcend the boundaries of a delusive self, liberating ourselves from the superiority complex, the inferiority complex, and the equality complex. We are aware that the happiness and suffering of all people is also our own happiness and suffering. We see ourselves in all people and all people in ourselves. We are one with those caught in situations of oppression. We are also one with the oppressors. We are one with the wise and good people who are present everywhere in the world. We are one with those who are able to embrace the whole of this world with their heart of love and their two arms of caring action. We are a people with enough peace, joy, and freedom to be able to offer fearlessness and the joy of life to living beings around us. We see that we are not alone. The love and the joy of great beings who are present in this world are supporting us, not allowing us to drown in despair, and showing us the way of understanding, compassion, and right action.
Dear Sangha, dear Thai, dear friends, let's take a collective breath together right now. Just settling in to this moment after a beautiful day and beginning to settle into our meditation. So taking a nice big inhale down into the belly, letting the belly relax and soften, and then a nice long exhale. It's nice to do that collectively with each other. Even though we're not in the same room, we can breathe as one. In honor of our talk today, this wonderful talk that we're going to be receiving from our guest speaker on the similarities between the teachings of the Buddha and the teachings of Jesus, I thought it would be fun and interesting to do something in the Christian world that's called welcoming prayer. And of course, we have similar practices, and other religions have similar practices to this. It's just they just kind of go by different names. But in this type of meditation, we allow and consent to whatever is happening right now, particularly with our body sensations and emotions. So already you might be picking up that this is very similar to Vipassana meditation that we do. The addition with the welcoming prayer is that we do this with an attitude that there is a divinity that is present with all of it. And so this is a really kind of nice sense. And so divinity can be whatever it is means to you. And practicing that these sensations that we feel in our body, that of course are associated with our being alive and feeling and having emotions, is connected with all that is the divinity. And in our practice, we might say that might be how we touch the interconnectedness of everything. So in essence, we consent to the ordinary activities of our day in this practice. And on this website where I got the gist of how to do this practice, it's the website contemplativeoutreach.org, which I would encourage you to check that out if you have any interest. The site says that this is a practice of consent on the go. So let's just begin. I invite all of you to find your seat. And may that be sitting on a mat, sitting on a cushion, cross-legged, on a prayer stool, on a chair, standing or laying down, it doesn't matter. Just finding yourself in a place where you can settle. Begin to feel your feet touching the earth, your legs, your hips. We bring some dignity to this practice as we sit upright or lay straight or stand tall with our shoulders over our hips. Our shoulders are reaching down. We don't need to hold on to anything today in this moment. We let the crown of our head reach up, their chin slightly tucked. Begin to relax all the muscles in the face. And get any wiggles out that you need to get out. And then find that place of stillness. I encourage you just to be aware of not fidgeting during this practice. See if you can notice the impulse to fidget. Move your hand to scratch something, or push a piece of hair out of your face, or flip open your eyes to when you hear a noise. Just notice that impulse and see if you can just breathe through it, because that really is some of what this practice is about, is noticing and being aware without reacting right away. Being able to breathe through and give yourself a pause before responding. So by all means, if you're very uncomfortable, then you may move. You could do that mindfully. But for those other little fidgety impulses, see if you might just practice stillness. So bringing your attention to your breath as it comes in through the nostril. Following it all the way down into your soft belly. And then watching it as it exhales out. So begin to follow that breath all the way through, from the beginning, the middle, and the end. And rest. Rest in this calmness and in this stillness. Feel and sink into what you are experiencing this moment in your body. As I guide you through a little body scan, notice any sensations being felt in your body. It can be tingling, tightening, tenseness, openness, pulsating, shivering, flowing, expansive. All sorts of words to describe the sensations that we hold in our body. And so just notice and welcome welcome what you're experiencing in this moment in your body as an opportunity to consent to the divine indwelling. So just to start to guide us inside, bring your attention to your hip bones and to the whole pelvic floor. Lots of organs held there, breathing into that space below the belly button. Notice if there's any sensations there. It's also the lower back, so below the belly button and the lower back and all the space in between. And then bringing your attention now to the belly button and a little bit above the belly button. And that would be the mid-back. So space above the belly button and the middle back and all the space in between where there's many organs. Breathing into those, bringing oxygen and noticing any sensations that you may be experiencing there, however slight or subtle. And now bringing your attention to your chest and to your upper back and the space in between. Any tingling, tightening, openness, pulsation, just noticing. Now bringing your attention to that space between the brows, really any place on your face, noticing any tenseness, tightness, restriction, openness, expansionness. The whole face and back skull. And then bringing your attention to the crown of your head, noticing any sensation that may be there. Now moving back down again, back down to the space between your brow and your face, your back skull. Down through your neck, your throat, the upper part of your backbone. Noticing any tenseness, tightness in the throat, or openness, expansion. Down into your chest and your upper back. Keep breathing, following your breath as you investigate your sensations in your body. Now bringing your attention to your chest and your upper back and the space in between. Again, noticing any sensation. Your solar plexus and your mid-back and the space between the sides of your torso. And now with that breath going all the way down into the belly, noticing the sensations around the belly and the lower back. And then just begin to notice the sensation that you want to just sit with for the rest of the meditation. Whatever sensation's calling you, just bring your attention to that sensation. And again, just consenting to the divine indwelling that goes along with the sensation that you're holding in your body. And just breathe with it as best you can. If it gets to be too much, just back away and go back to just breathing. So you can play around with this, stay with the sensation or move away from it. It's entirely up to you. Just recognizing these sensations as our signals about how life is going for us and the divinity in it. And as you're breathing into the sensation, being with the sensation, let go by saying, I let go of my desire for security, affection, control, and embrace this moment, the sensation, as it is. Let go by saying, I let go of my desire for security, affection, control, and embrace this moment, these sensations, as it is. Connecting your being with the sensation with your breath. The breath is always there. Let go by saying, I let go of my desire for security, affection, control, and embrace this moment as it is. Now, bringing your attention away from the sensation and allow yourself to just breathe from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Whole body breaths here. Don't have to quite focus so much right now as we just calmly abide in the breath as it goes through our entire body, back and front, sides, up over our head and below our feet, through our whole body and being. It's relaxing, releasing. And here is a sweet little poem by St. John of the Cross. It's called Tenderly. Tenderly, I now touch all things, knowing one day we will part. Tenderly, I now touch all things, knowing one day we will part. Let us enjoy the chanting of the Brahma Viharas from Bobby.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be at peace. Brahma Vihara Maitri, Brahma Vihara Karuna, Brahma Vihara Mudita, Brahma Vihara Upeksha. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be at peace.
Please join me as we recite the 3 jewels and then the refuge chant. If you do not know the words, then just listen along. The 3 jewels of our practice represent the qualities and nature that is in each of us. Our Buddha nature is our nature to move past obstacles, the guiding force that helps us to move along a path to freedom. The Dharma represents the words and teachings that help to keep us moving forward on our path to freedom. The Dharma is expressed not only in the words we hear and read, but in the words that each of us uses when we communicate. The Sangha is the community that gathers and positively supports each other along the path to freedom. Our practice group that is gathered together is a Sangha. Those that could not make it today are also the Sangha. Our families and other supportive groups in our everyday lives are also part of our Sangha. We take refuge in the Buddha, the awakening heart of infinite light, that which shows us the way in this life. We take refuge in the Dharma, the awakening path of infinite light, the way of understanding and of love. We take refuge in the Sangha, the awakening community of infinite light, those who live in harmony and awareness.
Thank you for the meditation today, Jennifer. That was very nice and a nice break for me today. I'd like to say hello to all of those of you who've checked in and are watching us on YouTube, even those who haven't checked in, but I'll read those who have checked in. Barbara says, grateful for the Sangha and the good weather. And she asks, where is everybody? I think she was the first one in and to check in. Lisa says, hello, dear Sangha. Lisa checking in from on the road. Hope it's nice in Colorado, Lisa. Billy says, Billy bowing in. Paul bowing in. Hello, everyone. Michael Ferraro bows in. Neil bowing in. Tina bowing in. Sandy says hello. Julie says greetings all. Paula bowing in. Beautiful day. And you're welcome to continue checking in the chat window, and remember to click the like button or the thumb up, and I'll read more of the chat if there are other ones a little bit later on. And I've also put up in the chat window a link. Our teachings are always free, but this community and these gatherings are supported by the community, and we ask that you take part in that part as well, to keep that going. And so you'll find the link in the window where you can donate to keep these gatherings happening. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bobby, and I'll see you in a little while.
Yes, thank you, Cornell. And thank you, Jennifer, for that meditation. Really put me out in a good way. I'm so happy to be able to introduce to you Leanne Bryce. I think if you read the weekly message, then you heard me or read that I attended a little workshop that she and our friend Lisa November did. And the workshop was titled Jesus and Buddha as Brothers. You know, I think many of us have grown up with or kind of came from a Christian foundation, and maybe like me, you had kind of given up on it in a sense. And then one thing I remember is that in a retreat that I attended where Ty was in attendance, he encouraged us to not give up on our roots, to reconnect, to find the threads that connect us to whatever was the foundational spiritual teaching that you had and the Buddhist teachings, because they are very compatible. And so I was really happy that Lisa and Leanne offered this retreat as Buddha and Jesus as brothers. Leanne is the minister at the Congregational Christian Church in Fort Worth. And I just wanted to point out that if you can see my altar back here, I have a picture that's supposedly from the Shroud of Turin. That is what perhaps Jesus looked like. And then I have an image, because we also don't know what the Buddha looked like. But we do know how he is typically portrayed. So Thank you, Leanne. I will turn it over to you. I'm so glad you're here.
Good evening, dear siblings. Thank you, Bobby. Greetings to our sister Sangha, Dallas Meditation Center, Awakening Heart. Thank you for the invitation to share tonight. I also want to thank Terry Elmore from the church that I serve in Fort Worth, First Congregational UCC. Terry is hopping on the call tonight to add the PowerPoint to my talk, so I appreciate Terry, you being here too. I begin tonight with wisdom from some of our beloved teachers. First, from Thich Nhat Hanh in his book, Living Buddha, Living Christ. If you are a Christian, you feel that Jesus Christ is your home. It's very comfortable to think of Jesus as your home. If you're a Buddhist, then it's nice to think of the Buddha as your home. Your home is available in the here and now. Christ is there. The Buddha is there. The practice is how to touch them, how to touch your home. You call Christ the living Christ. So you cannot believe that Christ is only someone who lived in the past and is no longer there. He is ever present. Your practice is how to touch him. He is your home. If you're a Buddhist, you practice very much in the same way. You invoke the name of the Buddha as one of the ways to touch the Buddha because you know that he is your home. The living Christ, the living Buddha is your home. And from Christian theologian Marcus Borg. Whether speaking of love, material wealth, temptation, or salvation, Jesus and Buddha were two masters with one message. They taught that what is inside a person matters, not possessions or outward appearance. And they punctuated their beliefs with actions, revolutionizing the religions of their day. I'd like to begin with a short introduction myself. I am a lifelong Christian and an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ, a mainstream liberal Protestant denomination. I've studied Christian theology formally and informally for 40 years. I've pastored churches for 20 years, and currently I'm lead pastor at First Congregational Church in Fort Worth. So I guess you could say that I am a professional Christian. I get paid for being a Christian. Basically, I have lived with Jesus all of my life, and I have loved Jesus all my life. I have also practiced mindfulness meditation for many years now. My partner, Lisa November, introduced me to Thich Nhat Hanh, who's of course known as Thai, means Vietnamese, teacher in Vietnamese. Lisa and I have had the tremendous honor of spending time at several of the communities founded by Thai. I practice with our Fort Worth Sangha, Cultivating Mindfulness. Meditation and wisdom from the Buddhist tradition has come to mean a great deal to me. It is the cornerstone of my personal spiritual practice. Yes, I've lived with Jesus my whole life. I have not, however, lived with Buddha all my life. I do not know scholarship surrounding Buddha as I do about Jesus. I don't claim any authority in Buddhism. It feels important to me to begin with that disclaimer because I want to clarify what Jesus and Buddha as brothers means to me. I was raised in a conservative, evangelical Christian family. I fervently embraced those beliefs until well into adulthood. But in my 30s, I guess it was, I began to question what I had always been taught. There were a variety of reasons for that. But my questions led to a personal crisis of faith that was, for me, quite painful. I look back on those years as a pivotal time of transformation for me. I emerged from this crisis of faith as what might be called a pluralist Christian. By that I mean that I believe the plurality of religions and secular belief systems are best understood as completing each other rather than competing with each other. I identify as Christian because I'm of the opinion that I really don't have a choice. I'm stuck with Christianity. By that I mean that I have been so thoroughly steeped in the language and stories and music and concepts of Christianity all my life that it is virtually in my DNA. I feel at home there. I cannot stop being Christian any more than I can cease to be a woman or cease to be a mother or a Texan for that matter. It's just who I am. Christianity, however, as it is commonly expressed and practiced today, is not who I am. I'm talking about the brand of Christianity that excludes and judges and supports Donald Trump. And so I have intentionally chosen this path to redefine what it means to me to be a Christian. The kind of Christian who is committed to respect and openness and compassion. And I have found so many others who want to be on that kind of path. Life is sort of like walking a path with friends. In fact, that's the theme that you've chosen this year, Friends on the Path. Great theme, Bobby and Cornell. I hope that you can think of this time together, this short time we're spending together, as a resting place on the path. And I'm so grateful to share it with all of you. When I began tonight, I began with the quote from my most favorite theologian, Marcus Borg. He claims that Jesus and Buddha may be understood as two teachers with one message. One said, "Do to others as you would have them do to you." The other, "Consider others as yourself." These ideas were spoken by teachers separated by 500 years, 3,000 miles, and two drastically different cultures. And yet the sentiment is identical. One of them said, "Give to anyone who requests it." The other, "Give when you are asked." Over and over again in the New Testament and the ancient Buddhist texts, we find remarkable similarity between the lives and the deeds and the teachings of Buddha and Jesus. Both Jesus and Buddha were teachers of a sort of subversive wisdom that challenged the conventional way of seeing in their time and in every time. They taught a way, a kind of path of transformation. And what Buddha and Jesus said about the way is remarkably similar. I'll note just 3 similarities. In both cases, the path involves a new way of seeing. Seeing, sight, light are central to Jesus' teaching. Most commonly, his parables and aphorisms function to invite a new way of seeing. So also for the Buddha. Indeed, the common description of him as the enlightened one points to the centrality of a new way of seeing. Enlightenment means to see differently, to see in a different light. Both Jesus and the Buddha sought to bring about in their hearers this radical perceptual shift to a new way of seeing. I once was blind, but now I see. Number 2, the path for both Jesus and Buddha is transformative. The path of the Buddha entails a reorientation of one's life from attachment to letting go. Jesus taught a path of emptying oneself, and that those who would make themselves last will be first, and the first last. Taking up the cross is a metaphor for dying to an old way of being and awakening to a new one. The path itself is transformative. And 3, the Buddha and Jesus both taught that the whole point of taking this path of transformation was to become a more compassionate being. The Buddha is sometimes called the compassionate one. Jesus crystallized with one word the life that would result from following the way. and the word was compassion. Be compassionate, he said, as God is compassionate. The Gospel of John begins, in the beginning there was the Word. The Word was in God's presence, and the Word was God. The Word was present to God from the beginning. Through the Word, all things came into being. And apart from the Word, nothing came into being that has come into being. Now, in the Christian tradition, the Word is usually understood as Jesus. But there's another way to think about the beginning of ultimate reality. Celtic Christian theologian John Philip Newell notes that sometimes in Eastern religions, such as, of course, Buddhism and Hinduism, there is a word that is used to signify the essence of consciousness, of all beginnings. Everything is found in the word Om. Om is a word that can be understood to hold Jesus, Buddha, all of us, the wholeness of all that is and has ever been and will ever be is Om. Let's do a short meditation on Om. Diva Premal is a singer who is known for introducing Sanskrit chants into the mainstream. If you're not familiar with her, check her out. She performs with her partner. His name is Mitten. He's German. Every concert they offer begins with Om. Diva Premal comes out on stage. She sits down at her keyboard and she begins by chanting Om, and everyone joins in. I really can't describe what it's like to chant Om with hundreds and hundreds of people. If we were all together, physically together, I mean, we could try it, but we're not, so we'll do what we can. Terry's going to share a video of Diva Premal chanting Om, and I invite you to interact with that video however you want to. It'll be about 3 minutes long. If you want to try and add your own Om, that would be wonderful, as long as you remain muted. I mean, maybe you'd rather just watch and listen. You can turn down the sound and sit in silence. You do you, and we'll all be happy. And to lead us into that meditation, I first will reread our passage from John's Gospel, an updated version of it, and then we'll move to the video meditation. In the beginning was the Om. The Om was in God's presence, and the Om was God. The Om was present in God from the beginning. Through the Om, all things came into being. From the earliest days of Christianity, excuse me, we find evidence of a deep way of seeing oneness in all things and all people. The Christian tradition has largely lost that dimension now, but we find it in the earliest stages of a developing Christianity. Seeing oneness of all things is not what Christianity is now known for. I think that's safe to say. But in the early church, when the euphoria of the Christian faith was creative and expansive, the language they used to speak of this vision of divine oneness was expressed in the idea of a Christ presence uniting all things. Christ was not Jesus's last name. Christ is a title by which he became known long after he died. And Christ denotes this mystical sense of divine oneness. God reconciled all things. God gathered up all into God's self. All things came into being as God, as the Word, Christ, Om. Just as the earliest church saw a Christ presence as gathering all things as God, in Buddhism we find something similar called interbeing. Many of you can speak much better on interbeing than I, but my understanding is that interbeing is a way of thinking about the oneness of all that is. All are one, and if all are one, then there can be no superiority, no inferiority. All are one. As shocking as it sounds, there is no equality, because equality assumes separation. We are not equal, we are one. Buddhism teaches that it is in understanding this oneness that true harmony and happiness are possible. So the practice of Buddhism is to look deeply, to see that the other person is in you. You are in him. You're not a separate self. You inter-are. You are her and she is you. Which sounds similar to what the Apostle Paul expressed when he wrote, "For just as the body is one and has many members, and all the members of the body, though many, are one body, so it is with Christ. For in the one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, Jews or Greeks, slaves or free, and we were all made to drink of one Spirit." Paul says, you're all one body, you're Christ's body, we are one. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "My right hand is so happy it never makes the left hand unhappy, because the right hand knows that she and the left hand belong to the same body. They are two, but they are together. The suffering of this hand is also the suffering of the other hand. The happiness of this hand is also the happiness of the other hand." That is the insight of interbeing. That is the insight of the body of Christ. That is the path to compassion, to enlightenment, to shalom. And whether you call it Buddha nature or Christ consciousness, both speak to universal truth, that we are one with the people we love and with the people we don't love, with the people whose names we know, as well as those whose names we will never know. We are all one. Something cannot be good for me if it is bad for you. We're not separate. We're not equal. We are one. Now, I don't know many of you who are here tonight, but I imagine that we're not all religious people, that we don't think of ourselves that way, some of us. But for those of us who are, the essential function of religion is to connect us with everything. That's what the word religion means. Religio comes from ligio, ligaments. It's about connection, which means that your religion, if you claim one, is not a church or a sangha. It's not even the faith or belief system you profess. It is the cosmos we all share. And to close, I'm going to share a little song with you. I'll be honest, wrapping up a sermon is my least favorite thing to write in a sermon. If I can get away with just singing a song, I'll do it. In this case, I have the perfect song. If you're inclined to sing along, I think Terry may be putting the words into the chat. It's a very easy song to sing. It's written by Mason Jennings. It's titled Jesus and Buddha Too. And we'll sing it a couple or three times through. Oh, Jesus, I love you, and I love Buddha too. Ramna, Krishi, Guru Dev, Tao Te Ching, and Muhammad. Why do some people say that there is just one way to love you, God, and come to you? We are all a part of you. You are unnameable. You are unknowable. All we have is metaphor. That's what time and space are for. It's the universal thought. You are and you are not. You are many, you are one. Ever ending, just begun. All right, all right, all right. All right, all right. Let's try it again. Oh, Jesus, I love you, and I love Buddha too. Rama, Krishna, Guru Dev, Tao Te Ching, and Muhammad. Why do some people say that there is just one way to love you, God, and come to you? We are all a part of you. You are unnameable. You are unknowable. All we have is metaphor. That's what time and space are for. It's the universal thought. You are and you are not. You are many, you are one. Ever ending, just begun. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I love you and you, Buddha too. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I love you and Buddha too. All right.
Thank you, Leanne. I'm so glad to hear this this message again. I thought I was paying attention the first time, but I thought I heard things I hadn't heard before, maybe in a different way. But anyway, it was very enlightening, interesting, fun. So thank you. We're going to now go to Zoom so that we can share with one another, so that you can talk to Leanne if you want to, and maybe ask her a question, share your comments, whatever. So look for the link in the chat box, and I'll pass back to Cornell, see if he wants to say anything to conclude this part of the evening. You are muted.
You're muted, Cornell.
I remind other people to unmute, but I'm the one who forgets to do it. So thank you for that really nice talk, Leanne. We heard that at the workshop weeks ago, and it was really nice to hear it again and to hear the song at the end that I had forgotten about. I was busy as Terry was typing in the words in the Zoom chat. I was typing it in the YouTube chat. So some of the people on YouTube, you got the words a little bit after, but hopefully you enjoyed and sang along with any that you may have seen. But before we go, we will close here with our, we'll do one of the closing vows here in a second, and will lead us in that. I was just going to say, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the mailing list so that you can see all the things coming up. And when there will be some weekend events, please do show up and join with community those ways. Those are other ways that we can connect. And it also is of benefit to our center as well as a benefit to our community. So have a look and watch what's coming up there. And the Zoom link is in the chat window now. You can see it. And Anne will lead us now in our 4 vows of awakening beings.
I almost don't want to do the closing chant because I want to hear more from Leanne and more song, but more for discussion. More for discussion. Yeah. I know. I'm like, well, do we have to? Okay. Please join me in the closing chant. Countless beings we vow to free. Ceaseless afflictions we vow to end. Limitless truth doors we vow to open. The deepest paths of awakening we vow to realize.
So those of you over on YouTube, we'll say goodbye to you on YouTube. Come join us on Zoom. Those who are already on Zoom, hang tight, and we will see you over in Zoom.